Hey, what is up, guys? It is the cooler half of Bundlebox here, and if you've been watching Matt and I's live streams of Pokemon Unite, you know that we've been having a lot of issues in low level like ranked play. So that would be like beginner, great, and maybe expert if you consider it to be like lower level. Um, our biggest problem just being we're only a duo queue, so it's really hard to kind of find three other people that are not I don't want to say like-minded because like we could be wrong, but just three other people who agree with what we want to do, if that makes sense. So this is just six things that I think everyone should do that will hopefully help the worldwide Pokemon Unite ranked experience. This is mostly for solo queue though, because if you have like a quad or even a triple, you can communicate with the majority of your team, so it will make things a lot easier. So the first tip that I think would be great for everyone to kind of understand is that this, at the end of the day, is a team game. There's objectives that we have to play, and we have to be a balanced team. So many times we go into a ranked game and you'll see a lot of red and a lot of blue because everyone wants to be the damage dealer, everyone wants to get kills. But Pokemon Go themselves, or not Pokemon Go, Pokemon Unite themselves even say you should add this or this to have a well-balanced team, because you need it for a well-balanced team. You can't have all damage, and you can't really have all tanks either. So, you know, you hate to be the person who has to suck it up, but if you want a chance at winning the game, you want a well-rounded team. And I guess it's fine for me because I play a very niche role of defender because I like playing that role in other MOBAs. But I would say, since this is kind of a younger audience game target, not everyone understands the concept of playing for the team composition. And that's something that I think people really will understand and definitely do in the higher levels, but it would make the transition for people who are just getting into the game, especially like in a more competitive aspect of it, a lot better, because they'll understand the fact that you need a well-rounded team to be able to compete in the game. Especially because even if an attacker or a speedster is super fed in the early game, given that the other team isn't super duper far ahead, they're gonna fall off at some point, like around the 2 minute mark, especially with Zapdos coming out. The other team's damage, or your team's damage dealers, if they fall off and you're all damage dealers and the other team has decent CC and decent support, you guys have a pretty high chance of losing. Once they kind of balance the game more, a lot of that's going to change. Tying into the first point, the second point is going to be learn how to play other roles. Just because you could be, attacker could be your favorite role, but if your team is full of speedsters, attackers, maybe you should learn to play the Wigglytuff or the Mr. Mime or the Snorlax, just so then you can be the person, especially as a solo queuer, you can be the person that they kind of have to rely on to be able to engage. They need a tank, or they need a supporter just to sustain themselves throughout a fight, or especially a team fight. So if everyone is able to fill in that blank role, then most team comps should work out very well. And the third thing, I don't know if a lot of people know about it, because the tutorial definitely doesn't teach you how to do it, but in the battle prep options, like whenever you're in the character selection phase, like you get like 60 seconds for it, if you press ZL or the back left bumper, it doesn't show it in practice mode, but all the way at the bottom there is a section that lets you set your lane, being top, middle, which is like the jungle area, and then bottom. And if everyone selected a lane, you don't have to worry about that little beginning of the game shuffle where all 5 players are kind of picking whether to pick the top APOM or the bottom APOM for their first farm, and then they just kind of continue on from there, and everyone just has to work out with each other who's going to go where. Like, say you have one person going bottom and 4 people going to the top APOM, then one person's going to have to rotate, and that's just a huge loss in efficiency and possible XP gain, and you're essentially already giving the enemy bottom lane an advantage because of the fact that one person on your team was confused or didn't understand the roles. And then that is also really going to help people who want to play the jungle, because they can call the middle lane. And as long as that's understood and people play their lanes, then the jungle is secured for the jungler. You're not going to have to worry about your top lane or your bottom lane, or I guess your top lane taking your Ludicolo, because it's going to be there for you because you called the jungle. And going along with the picking the lane, make sure you play your lane. You know, if you're the jungler, you want to gank, you know, you don't just farm the whole time and get ahead. You want to gank, you want to support your lanes. And then you're the bottom laner, stay in the bottom. Don't rotate to the top just because the bottom lane is losing and you're like, oh, I don't want to be part of the losing lane, so I'm going to move to the winning lane, because then your bottom lane is going to lose even more because they're by themselves. Obviously, situations will change, you know, depending on if the other team rotates, then you can rotate to counter. But just for the laning phase, you know, like the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game, you want to pick your lane and you kind of want to play that lane until something, some kind of engagements really force you to change it up. The next tip I want to share with you guys is the concept of mini-map or map awareness. And the reason that that's so important, especially in terms of game knowledge and something that you want to learn early on, is because knowing what's going on in the map means that you know exactly what's going on in the game. Obviously, with Fog of War, you can't see everything, but it lets you you can intuitively think about what's actually going on. So if you look at the mini map and you only see 3 players on the enemy team, but Rotom is up or Dreadnought is up, and the 2 players that are missing are the bottom lane, then they're probably doing the Dreadnought. So you can just click the L button and hover all the way down there, and you can actually like look at the Dreadnought just to make sure. And it doesn't even cost you anything, because if you look at my Snorlax right now, he's still moving. So I'm just here, I'm fairly safe in my own jungle, and I'm just walking around while I'm still looking at this Dreadnought. And even vice versa, if it was the top lane that was missing, you can look up here and you're like, oh, Rotom has lost health. So you know that the other 2 players on the team are doing something that you don't want them to do, and you have so much control over that knowledge because this hover feature is pretty broken. Something that I don't know if it will get patched out of the game or not, but so technically Dreadnought and Rotom are in the Fog of War if you or your teammates are not invisible, are not able to see it. So you won't be able to see any of the enemy players attacking Dreadnought or Rotom, but you can see Dreadnought and Rotom, and I guess also Zapdos at 2 minutes. You can see their health bars and their attack animations. So you know for a fact that something is going on there, and you can head your way over or signal someone on your team to rotate to that location. Oh, see here, there's a perfect example. I can see the attack animations and I know that he's losing health, but I can't see the Bulbasaur. So if I get in here, bam, I guess he's Ivysaur now. And, you know, if I was a higher level, I probably could have gone there and dealt with it sooner, but I knew that it was happening. Getting into one of the last points, very similar to map knowledge, is signaling to your teammates, communicating with your teammates. You need to be able to talk with your teammates, especially as a solo queuer, unless you are a very big proponent for the Nintendo online talking app. Then, you know, you can talk to your teammates through there if they want to use it. Not everyone knows, but if you use up on the D-pad, you have this pretty limited but very useful circle wheel that you can trigger every like 6 or 7 seconds, I think. Maybe it's just 5. And you can let your teammates know that with the right stick, you're like, hey, let's attack, or oh man, it's gonna make me wait 5 seconds to pull it back up. Or you can be like, hey, retreat, or you know, get back here, let's rally together. And that's great to tell your laner the person that you're laning with, like, hey, head over back this way because like I need to, or I'm not confident in this fight or something like that. And it's a great way to be able to talk with your teammates directly, and so they know what's going on in your head, and hopefully they can react a very similar way. And going along with the signaling, if you do minus on your mini map, if you look at, I have this little green cursor right here, and I can actually ping this little spot. So if I think that, if I think something is going on in our jungle at the Buffalon, I can go over it and then I can ping it and say, check it out, someone on our team on our bot lane can go over there. The map is pretty small though, so it's not really a huge feature that needs to be used, but it's definitely there and it's super useful. And something that you guys want to do if you want to start using those features is to go into your settings and go to controls and increase your camera sensitivity as high as possible. So then you can be super fast with getting it to, like, your Rotom or your Dreadnought, or just kind of peeking at things on the enemy positions and stuff. And the last point for improving kind of the worldwide ranked platform is kudos and reporting. I think it's going to be something that's going to play a huge role in terms of like MMR and kind of just like who Pokemon Unite or whoever decides the matchmaking system. It'll help them know who they want to pin people to put people together with. At the end of the game, there's an option where you can hover like right at the scoring animation. You can go click right and hover over any player in the game, your teammate or an enemy, and you can press A on them, and it'll give you the option to, you can add them as a friend, report the player, or say good job. So I try to, at least in ranked, I always try to make a point to good job anyone that I think did really good that game, just because they deserve it, and it'll go towards their fair play points, which you can claim 20 EOS coins daily for. But the EOS, the fair play points are kind of just a way for players who are nice and not toxic to keep finding each other. At least that's what I think. I'm not certain at all, but that's what I would hope it'd be used for, considering it's an actual mechanic that we can see ourselves. And then for the reporting, you can report someone for like malicious idling or inting, which I would 100% recommend that everyone does, like whenever someone leaves the game, or even just kind of throws the game on purpose, because there isn't necessarily a direct negative effect for leaving game. Like, you don't get a temporary ban or anything like that, just like you do in any other ranked matches. And that's something that I hope they add into the game at some point, but we're not sure. Well, I have no idea. But make sure that you good job the people who deserve it, you report the people who deserve it even more, and you maybe just add a couple friends so you can start queuing up with people that you can rely on. And then once you do that, you can forget everything that you learned in this video.